Happy Friday, Bills Mafia. Welcome to a special wild card edition of the Friday Night Forecast. I'm your host, Travis Blakesley. And today we have the usual suspects, Herm, the Buffalonian. How you doing, Herm?
Herm the Buffalonian is in the house, and I'm looking forward to eliminating the Patriots tomorrow night. So I'm psyched.
Yes, sir. We also have Cody. How we doing, Cody?
Doing well. Already looking forward to the game. Already a little bit nervous.
Oh, yeah, of course. You got the I feel like every hour that inches closer, you dig up a reason to have a little doubt. But you know, this is an opponent that we've seen, and I'm confident that we're the better team. But as we all know, that's not always the guy who wins. So before we get into this week's matchup, I think we can delve into last week's matchup. I know we were off the air, but I titled the first segment as the bipolar Buffalo Bills strike again. Is anyone concerned about this? Cody, I'll let you lead us off.
I think yes and no. You saw the way we came out of that game. It was like gangbusters, and we kind of did what we wanted, went right down the field, and then we kind of went into a shell. And from the second quarter, midway through, all the way to the fourth quarter, it was just punt after punt, and it seemed a little disorganized, and guys weren't really on the same page, which is the one thing that kind of concerns me. Guys were breaking out, Allen's throwing it in, and I don't know. So that concerns me a little bit, but at the same time, they were playing for the division, but it is the Jets. And I think they kind of maybe went a little conservative. So I guess, there's some trepidation there because you want to see them firing on all cylinders all the time. But at the same time, you do end up with a comfortable win against a division opponent that's laying it all out on the line. So that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah, it was one of the more interesting, I don't know, what do we win by? 17? 12? What was the differential?
Yeah.
I don't know, multi-score.
It was 27-10.
Yeah. So it was one of the more interesting 17-point victories. I mean, that second and third quarter was like, I think that's that series where Hack punted the ball short and then got a re-kick for no reason and then made it even worse. That kind of summed it up, or the one he missed. We'll get into Hawk later, but Herm, are you feeling a little concerned? This is something that we've saw. Yeah, he is a hack. We saw these types of performance what seems like all season. Is this something you're concerned going into the playoffs, or are we turning the page, so to speak, when you enter the postseason?
Well, I was a little bit not a little bit. I was disappointed because, as Cody said, the opening drive, we looked good, went down, scored. Next drive, we got in the red zone. Of course, my pet peeve, we didn't finish. We got a field goal, but we're up 10-0. And then it just seemed like we were just totally ineffective for the next two quarters. I think the two prior games, we didn't punt at all. We made up for it in those next 6 or 7 drives in a row, right? We looked terrible. So
turnover on downs and then 3 straight.
Exactly. I mean, I wanted to see us just drub the Jets right out the gate, as it looked like we probably, we had the possibility of doing the defense. I mean, they were totally ineffective, their offense, and our defense was outstanding. But I wanted us to just come out, put that game away early. And, they get that 40-yard slant for a touchdown. And all of a sudden, what was it, 10-7 at that particular juncture, which I didn't like. So you're saying, was I concerned? Yeah, because we get another field goal, it's 13-7. I'm sitting here going, if they get a touchdown, they can be winning 14-13. And that wasn't really indicative of how the game went. So after our Atlanta game and the end of the Buck game, the Carolina game, I felt I wanted us to maintain that offensive momentum that it looked like we were building, and we just didn't look good. And we needed the game. while the Patriots were playing at the same time. So we didn't take our foot off the throttle in terms of not playing our players, but we just didn't play well. So was I concerned? Yes. Am I concerned coming in? No, it's a different ball game. As you said, we've played them twice. And here it's win or go home. So there's no tomorrow, and guaranteed there is no game next week for either team, one way or another. So you got to put that behind us, and let's put together a nice offensive performance tomorrow night, as we did against them in New England a couple of weeks ago.
If I can add in there real quick. So the one thing that really agitates me thinking about is we get the block punt, the first one all year. We're at the 30-yard line, and we get no points there. I like that we're aggressive, and I get it. The Jets, I think they're actually like 32nd defense, 31st, something pretty terrible. Now, I don't know if it was the third or the fourth down play where they threw it to Zach Moss on a he just snapped the backfield and it gets tackled for a yard. I hate these plays that it's 3 yards and you throw it behind. That bothers me. But you have to get points there. At that point, like Herm said, the second drive, Diggs catches that touchdown. It was close. He didn't get the foot in. You get a field goal there, so you could have easily been 14. You get nothing on the block punt, but you've basically taken over almost in a red zone. So you could easily be up 21-17-0. Instead, it's 10-0.
Right.
And then we went to fatigue from there on. It's like nothing happened for 2 quarters. So just anemic.
Yeah. And then you get that weird series where I think Dawson Knox had that nice catch. And I believe McKenzie picked up a first down, but there was like a holding call or something. It was the chop block. And then there were 3 passes in a row where there was no receiver anywhere. It was, you see that obviously when you have all these option routes, but it was just like 3 in a row. And I was just looking at TV, it's like, what are you guys doing? What is going on? Yeah. And I never was really in doubt. I mean, this happens a lot where we're playing an inferior team, and I wasn't in doubt of losing the game. But I mean, you have we didn't know we were going to play at that time, but you have a top third of of the league team coming to your house next week, and this is supposed to be a game where you're kind of priming the barrel, or so to speak, and they picked it up at the end, but that middle lull was it was ugly football. It was Jacksonville type.
It looked
football.
Exactly. That's what it reminded me of. And when you just made the comment that it was never in doubt, I mean, as I said, it was 13-7. And if they get one big play or a break, they're up by a point. And then all of a sudden,
anything could happen at that point. You're right. Yeah. I just didn't feel like we were in jeopardy of losing the game. But you're right. I mean, you kept it close. Anyone can win. The Jets have beaten decent. I mean, they beat the Titans. They beat
the week before they played the Bucks. They should have probably won that game, but they played them tough. So I didn't want to be.
I mean, I'm with Travis though. I'm with Travis though. I mean, I hear what you're saying. They were only up by 6 points at one point, and you get one point, and they're down by a point, but they weren't doing a damn thing on offense. They were, I mean, atrocious. And, I think, what I'm hoping, and I think probably what we're all hoping, is that, and I don't want to say, they didn't want to show too much. I'm hoping they just kind of kept it, I don't want to say simple, because they were doing different formations. They played a lot of bunch, but maybe not trying to do too much and just get out of there with the win. Which is what they kind of reverted to the fourth quarter there. They kind of ran the football a little bit more successfully and relied on that. But yeah, a lot of option routes that just were the receivers doing one thing and the quarterback is going the other way. And if it was a different game and it was a playoff game, I bet Allen probably would have took off a lot earlier and started running the football. In this game, he didn't really do that. So.
Well, it's funny that you brought it up, because that one big run kind of sparked the offense a little bit in the second half, where, there's points in game where Allen's like, okay, I'm not messing around anymore. Let me take it in my own hands. And
Yeah.
just before we move on, poor Zach Wilson. That boy is not ready to play in the NFL. The way he was running backwards is exactly what I think everyone wanted Josh Allen to play like, throughout his. That's all they ever thought he was going to be. And he, unfortunately, when you're going backwards or you're taking sacks when you could just throw the ball out of bounds, you're stepping out of bounds when you could just throw it. It's tough to watch and kind of feel bad for him, because how are you going to set up a project guy like he is with no veteran leadership behind him? I get it if you're starting him, even though I don't think he should start, but you put Mike White and you pick up Flacco, right? They picked up Flacco halfway through the season, and
Right.
it's just, but moving on, this is not a Jets podcast. How about that Buffalo Bills defense finishing a season with elite performance, cementing that number one ranking in many statistics. So just to name a few, the Bills are number one in points against, yards, number 3 in turnovers. They given up the least amount of first downs. They're just number one number one in passing yards, number one in passing TDs allowed, 3 in interceptions. I mean, the list goes on. It kind of drops off a little bit for the rushing, but I mean, at what point, you got to have some sort of weakness, I believe. So, Herm, speak on what this Bills defense, no Pro Bowlers, although Poyer made the All-Pro, which I'm very happy for him, and Micah made second team All-Pro. What a performance by this Buffalo Bills defense in 2021.
The D, I think both of you will agree. I mean, how many times throughout the season did they bail out the offense? Or probably even in the Jet game when we went through that 2 quarters, you guys say, a lull. I'm sitting there watching it. Okay, after the 2 horrible punts, they got the ball right around midfield, and you're 20 yards away from field goal territory. But the defense held. They sacked them. They did. But I hate to keep putting them into the position, our offense. But I mean, they were outstanding. The defense was ferocious. I'll use that word, with 9 sacks. And it began right there too with our front 4, and they were rotating players, but they played well. They knocked passes down. The linebackers were active. I think it was a total performance at all 3 levels on defensively. So I just hope we can carry over statistically. There's a lot of conversation or chatter online based upon the schedule that we beat up on a lot of. We built up a lot of statistics on teams that weren't, they weren't formidable, or they didn't have good quarterbacks, or we faced backup quarterbacks. But New England played basically the same schedule we did. So we ended up with the number 1 defense. They ended up with number 2, and here we are tomorrow night. So I hope we can carry over that performance, especially in the run game, to stop their rushing and make Mac Jones pass the ball. That's what I'm looking for tomorrow night.
Cody, before I give it over to you about the Bills defense, a nice little stat. In 2021, in the regular season, the Bills only allowed 167 deep passing yards allowed. This would be a 20 plus through the air pass. Mm-hmm. The next closest team is Los Angeles at 426. So, I mean, just a dominant secondary. Wow. It just, and I'm going to try to get a stat on Jordan Poyer, but he's like less than 100 yards, I think, through the air, like given up against his opponents. So, okay, Leroy has it 245. So, I mean, that's insane. Again, hats off to Jordan Poyer for making it and not making the Pro Bowl. Cody, your thoughts on the Bills' epic performance on defense this year?
Yeah, I think, heading into the Atlanta game, which is probably the last time we talked, I kind of challenged the D-line to have a coming out game. And this last couple of weeks has been really incredible. Harrison Phillips and complete studs out there. And that's really where our defense has really stepped it up a notch. It's the pressures are coming from the inside, and some of these guys like Addison Hughes got one last week. Even Vernon Butler had a decent game with a few snaps that he had. These guys have upped their game so much that it's really elevated this defense to a whole new echelon there. And I think, where we're saying that the offense is anemic last week, the defense was incredible.
Right.
Edmonds firing through the line, Milano. I mean, just from top to bottom, we haven't even mentioned Dane Jackson or these guys because it doesn't even seem like they're being challenged. Now, you would expect Belichick to come out with some stuff in this next game coming and try to take advantage of some guys there. But so far this year, and I don't care about anybody saying, "Oh, we haven't played this quarterback, we haven't done that." Right. We're not number one in just one thing here. We're in 7 different categories. We're the number one defense. Right. So, you play who you're given, which the old adage, but when you come out on top consistently and over now 17 games, you got to give it to them. They've been awesome. Leslie Frazier's done a great job, and I think they're playing their best ball going into the playoffs, which is very exciting for us because we finally got a pass rush.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I mean, this is what we were hoping for last year, and you got a top 3 offense and the number 1 consensus defense. It's a recipe for success. And before we get into this week's game, I just want to touch on what we talked about earlier. Hawk, I mean, terrible performance. I think we all know. Anyone who out there is listening, Hawk is on this team because he's a very good holder. Now, there is tangible evidence of this because Miami had the highest field goal percentage among kickers last year. They're dead last this year. The only difference is the holder. Literally, the only difference, kicker's the same, snapper's the same. So there is value that he brings to the team. I think I'm pretty sure that analytically they saw how little the Bills punted last year, and they kind of expect the same thing. Get across the 50 and see what happens. Either kick the field goal or go for it on 4th downs. But we know Bill Belichick out. I mean, this year their special teams hasn't been great. I mean, I think they have three block punts on them, not blocked punts against, but for. But they're notorious for kind of smelling blood in the water on special teams. Herm, are you concerned, especially in a game where you're talking 0 degrees Fahrenheit and that ball's hard? And this is a guy who he drops the ball before he kicks it. So there's a lot that goes into it. He had a shaky game beforehand. Are you concerned?
Well, we definitely, in that particular game, we definitely had a punting problem.
Still painting on my script.
I would have been a smart aleck all my life. But anyway, so
that's why we're such good friends.
Anyway, he was horrible. I mean, the Pittsburgh game, I feel that's one of the factors we lost when he got the block punt. I mean, that cost for a touchdown in the opening game of the season. I think a lot of us, we lost Boriquez. Am I saying his name correctly? But he punted well. Boriquez. Yeah, he was. He punted well. He wanted more money, so we had to cut him loose. So this guy here, though, he looked horrible during that stretch. As you said, he got a do-over. He got a mulligan, and it was worse. So he should have took a provisional on that.
Yeah, right. Good call.
Yeah, it was horrible, and he gave up. If we were playing someone else that was able to take advantage of field position, he put us in a bad position, but the defense bailed us out once again. So I watched the thing earlier, and they actually had a punter from a retired punter who was saying playing in the cold weather, the part of the game, special teams, that's affected the most are the kickers. And I agree with him in that regard that tomorrow you're kicking, almost a rock. And he didn't, and we won't have the win, obviously, that was in the first game when we played the Patriots.
And not to
but,
mention, these guys are just standing on the sidelines.
Oh,
know?
yeah.
When you're
That's what the guy,
playing, you're warm.
Yeah. And I read a thing earlier. Steve Christie, who played in the second coldest game in Bills history, said his foot was frozen and the ball was frozen. He just hoped that they met at the right point. But you're standing over there on the sidelines. They can keep their feet warm and your hands warm, but it's still freezing. You're kicking basically like a rock. So I don't have a lot of confidence in him, just basically based upon his season. I don't know if he'll be here next year or if we'll go out and find somebody that's a little bit more reliable. And but for this postseason run right here, we need him to be better than he has been. But so I am concerned.
Yeah. I say we don't punt again, hopefully, or
that would be nice.
We got a comment here saying I see him giving us the advantage of on field this week.
Okay.
Cody, do you share those sentiments?
Well, I mean, all right, just to piggyback off of what you said before, to give the guy some credit, like you said with Sanders in Miami, you see his field goal percentages going way down. And now you look, Boyorquez is holding for Mason Crosby in Green Bay. He's having his worst season in his NFL career. So, and then Tyler Bass is having a lights out year. So there is some value that he brings, whether it's holding or punting. And he's good at kicking within the 20-yard line, right? So hopefully if we're punting from, let's say, midfield and he can pin them down there.
Yeah.
Because the funny part was his get right punt was from like that area, and he kicked it out of the end zone, and everyone cheered. That was the best part.
Yeah. They gave him a Bronx cheer for real on that one.
I did feel a little bad for the guy. Listen, I don't think it can be much worse. So no. I'm hoping that I think it was the gentleman that was just on the screen. You can't be. The problem is that he's slow. He's slow getting the ball. He takes an extra step. He's just slow. And the Patriots, Belichick, he already did see it. So they know that. The Buffalo just has to execute to a point where they don't let it become a factor in this game. Now, hopefully, like you said, we don't have to punt, and then we don't have to worry about it. That would be great. I think you'll see McDermott be a little bit – I think he will be aggressive in this game. So depending on the yard line, hopefully he just won't get too much usage.
Yeah, I think if we're past the 45 of our own 45, I don't think we're punting unless it's like 4th and 9 or what have you. But if 4th and 5, I think we're going for it all day unless we're kicking field goals. Yeah, it's funny, being my age, Brian Moorman. I mean, hell, we had coaches go up to the microphone and say, "At least we punted well." So it's very strange seeing bad punting. I mean, we've had decent punters throughout the last 20, 30 years. But yeah, moving on to tomorrow's night's game. It's nice that we don't have to wait an additional day. I know it sucks waiting until 8:15 p.m. but
no, you're right.
It's cool having a Saturday night game. As mentioned by every talking head and ourselves, could be one of the coldest games in Orchard Park history. We're floating around that 0 line. Luckily, no wind, so that's a win for Allen. Let's see if he can take some off of his passes because, like you said, it's a rock. You're gonna be throwing a rock around out there. But getting into Buffalo, Herm, do you see a conservative, way of McDermott in terms of game decisions, where he's going to rely on his defense, or do you think he's going to be as aggressive as he was the last time they matched up with the Patriots?
No, I think we should, or he will, and I'm saying we, but we should attack basically the same way we did when we played them, in New England at their stadium. You remember in that game? I mean, Josh was magnificent in that game, but he took their linebackers took the deep drops, and remember our running backs are underneath. He hit them. We picked up 7, 8, 10. Take that, and then eventually, if they want to come up, JC Diggs with JC Jackson's. I mean, I want to be aggressive. I mean, that's our team. That's when we're playing. I think at our optimal level as an offense is when we're aggressive. When they get conservative, and you guys know I was texting during the game. We ran the ball, first down 2 yards, second down 3rd, and then we're in 3rd and 7 against the Jets. Their defense played pretty well, just to give them their credit. But once again, you're putting the 3rd and 7 now. The Patriots, if you remember, they blitzed Josh. Tampa blitzed him a lot in that first half of the game, which gave us issues in that game. So, you look to your checkdowns and take what they give us, but I want us to be aggressive. I don't want us going into that conservative state where we're just running the football, and especially if the run game isn't there. We've been running the ball well the last really basically since second half of the Buck game. I think we've been running the football pretty well. Singletary seems very, very motivated and hungry. What do they call him? Motor. So the motor has been humming at his horsepower seems like it's gotten, he's gotten turbocharged now. So,
yeah, he's running a 93 octane now.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, but that's a good thing. It's good to see him run hard. So
well, that's the thing. I like that you said he runs hard, because we always knew he could make people miss in a phone booth, but
exactly.
He's running guys over, which is
running
nice.
hard right now. I mean, and that's
angry runs.
Yeah, he's running angry, and I want us to be aggressive like we were the first game and let the chips fall where they may, because once you get into that, it almost seems what happened in that Jet game, we're running the ball, and everybody gets into this mode where, like you said, Josh, when he did throw that one series, not one of the balls was on target, because it seems like they just kind of got into this malaise where, okay, we're going to beat them. We're going to beat them down by running the ball. We want to be physical, more physical. We want to show them we can be physical when, if you mix it up, because, we pass the ball. That's what we do. We do run. We want to run the ball, but, we have now we're healthy. I don't think we have anybody on the injury list, if I'm correct, right? So we got all our weapons receiver wise, and our running back. So I would love to blow them out tomorrow night. I know everybody would, but to make a statement, eliminate them, but also just blow them out, finish them off. And, I'm tired of hearing about the Patriots and Bill Belichick and all of this. Let's just blow them out once and for all. Josh McDaniels want to take another job somewhere, get out of Dodge.
You mean take another job and then quit before you ever take the job? Yeah. Cody, I'm sure we all want them to be aggressive. Yeah, we all want them to be aggressive, McDermott specifically. But do you think that's what we'll see? Or do you see McDermott to kind of, I don't want to say go back into his shell, but he is a defensive coach. That's where he's born and bred. And, you're going against an offense that can't do much through the air. Do you see it pop out, or do you see them continue to be aggressive?
Well, not to be indecisive, but I think that the game is going to kind of dictate how this goes. Obviously, if we're talking, a tie game or a 3-point game, and we're, at our own 45 and it's 4th and 2, if we're not having that much success, I think you will see him maybe being a little bit more conservative and try to punt and play a field possession game. But besides that, I think he learned something from the last Patriots game. I don't know what our percentages ended up being on those 4th down conversions, but we did really well, and it really changed the outcome of that game. So I think you have to find a bit of balance there and try to just let the game dictate how it's going. Now, that sometimes you saw the Chargers against the Raiders where you kind of have to, and hopefully we don't get to that point where we have to. But I don't actually see McDermott as a conservative coach anymore. I think he's kind of
he's
shed
not.
that skin.
Anyone?
Yeah,
you're 100% right.
Yeah, so I think, I don't want to be on the fence about it and say he's going to be this, he's going to be that. I think, like I said, I think you learned something from that last Patriots game. It worked out for us, but the game's going to dictate how it goes. So
yeah, and
take
just
that for
to
what it's
reiterate
worth.
your point, they were 3 for 4 on fourth down. And you're 100% right. McDermott is definitely a guy who he will use the analytics, but he definitely goes by feel. You know, if he feels like it's the swing of the game or the defense is going, he'll punt it. But again, like there's times where he feels he has the offense humming, they're going to go for it.
Right. And I actually did hear, I don't know if I heard it or if I read it somewhere. So whoever brought this point up, if I did hear it, kudos to them. But they're talking about Andy Reid, and obviously McDermott being a disciple of Andy Reid. They're talking about how Andy Reid gets more aggressive in the playoffs, and his percentages go way up. And not saying that that's what McDermott's going to do, but it's like take the knowledge and a lot of game day decisions from him. So that's just a little fact to throw in there. So whoever brought that up.
Yeah, I don't think many conservative people, you know, are superior in their you know, any given sport or whatever. You know, it's always the aggressive ones. The one, you know, look at Philadelphia a couple of years ago. Kind of tells the tale. But moving on, Herm, what do you expect to see out of the run game? Cody's brought it up a bunch. I know you've spoken on how this is a pass first team. Does the weather dictate anything? Does the success of the run game in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks dictate it? Or are the Bills going to be who they thought they were?
Well, as I said earlier, we've run the ball extremely well since the second half of the Buck game. So we will, and I mean, it ideally, it's great to be balanced, obviously. And the run game, if the run game is as effective as some of the teams that run against us, if it's humming like that, it obviously opens up the passing game, especially play action, or if we try to do RPOs. I mean, you have to respect the run if we're running the ball well. If we get into that mode where we were kind of in the middle of the season where we were running Singletary in 4 yards, and Moss was running for 2 yards, and then we have we're putting ourselves in third and longs consistently. No, but yeah, I would love to see us run the ball. I mean, I have to say this right now. This is the best offensive line play over the last couple of weeks that I think we've seen all season. And Bates, I was read a couple of pieces earlier in the day that Bates is getting some props now coming into that guard spot. And with Dawkins back, that the offensive line seems like, they're synchronized. Probably, in my opinion, that this is the best they've played all season as a unit. And
isn't it so bizarre? Like,
oh yeah, and I think all three of us
put in
know
your utility offensive lineman, and that fixes everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, the three of us remember. I think a couple of our questions are clear or cloudy was picking offensive line. Who was going to be the 5 linemen of the week? Other than Mitch Morse, sometimes it was and along with COVID and injuries, it was a crapshoot. But right now, seems like that's kind of been solidified over the last couple of games. I'm happy about it, but it also seems from pass protection and the run game, both of those have improved dramatically, and hopefully that'll hold up again tomorrow. So if we can run the ball and we begin running the ball, I would love to have us just run the ball and pick up over 200 yards rushing or 150 or better, with not a lot of it being Josh, even though he's going to do his thing, but. If we can do it, obviously, as I said, you would love to have that balance, but the run game will open up the passing game or vice versa for us. So let's hopefully our line consistently does what they've been doing for the last two games, 2.5 games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Mud Dog in the chat. Motor continues his career year. Watch going to be different playoffs this year using Devin like we should. Yeah, I mean, everyone, I don't know how true the mantra is or not. You got to run the football in the playoffs, but it looks like we have a serviceable, more than serviceable back. And to add to that comment, Bates has elevated Dawkins. Dawkins, he earned the All Pro, but I think his best, or Pro Bowl, excuse me. But I think his best play has come after he got that accolade. I mean, coming in cold off the bench after being being on the COVID list, like, he played fantastic. Last week he was dominant. Right. Cody, we already know how you feel about the run game, but how do you see it going on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think the big thing here is just seeing the health of Christian Barmore and seeing if he's going to be able to go. And even if he is able to go, I think you have to test him. See if he's ready for this game. The Patriots are pretty nicked up. I mean, even their corners. I mean, so if you're playing guys, your third string cornerbacks that got to come up and make tackles in the cold weather, I think you got to try. Like Herm said before, against the Patriots last time. Okay, your jacket was so loud there, Herm, I couldn't even hear myself.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. If these Patriots linebackers and stuff start floating into the secondary there, I think that you're going to have some success. So, how do I see it going? It's kind of hard to try to guess what's going to happen, but I think Singletary's been playing his best football, and you can't go away from that. So I think you have to get him involved somehow. And so whether that comes out to be a 60-40 or what for pass to rush, we'll see.
Yeah, I know it's not really the run game, but I just want to see, if they're going to play off coverage, keep feeding them the ball underneath. That was the best part of the Patriots game, in my opinion, because, 3-step drop, nothing open downfield. You couldn't even see a linebacker in the picture, and you just see Motor sitting right there in the middle. So it's good to see. Getting into the Patriots themselves, Herm, we saw a lot of, like I just mentioned, a lot of coverage, off coverage, zone coverage against Allen last week, or excuse me, the last matchup. And, we did see more man coverage in the first outing, but we didn't see a ton of blitzing. Do you think that Belichick is going to revert to trying to pressure Allen the way he did in early in his career?
Well, that's what I anticipate because, as I said a little bit earlier, if you remember in the Buck game, there was a period when they blitzed him just about every play, the Tampa defense. And they were up 21-zip. We were ineffective, and we just didn't make the adjustments in terms of him, hitting, the hot receiver or getting rid of the ball. But he was on the move. They had him, flustered. So it seemed that first half of our game with Tampa looked like the same thing they did with Mahomes in the Super Bowl last year. They had him on the run. Second half, was a whole different ball game. I don't think Belichick, after, as you said, the last game when their linebackers were taking those deep drops and Josh was just throwing underneath. So I don't think that will be, they're going to change it up, obviously, but I don't think that's how they're going to come out of the gate, allowing that this time. And I think just because it is going to be so cold, throwing the ball, catching it, that you may have more of their cornerbacks doing press coverage. And you asked about running the ball. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to see how he's good. He's great at making adjustments. And Josh threw for over 300 yards, if I remember correctly, in that last game. A little bit different weather situation, obviously, but he took what they gave him early on, and we just kept doing it. We kept doing it. And as you said, we had no punts. So we made a lot of first downs and we're moving the ball up and down the field. You guys know I'm greedy. We should have scored in the 40s in that game. Remember we went 4 and out and inside the 5, if I remember correctly, on one of our drives in that game as well in the red zone, and we kicked a couple of field goals. But no, I look forward to seeing how we attack the defense also, but I think they'll be a little bit more aggressive because they kept a guy like a spy on him for running, and you know what? He still ran the ball on him, but they had to because he was throwing passes and he spread their defense out. He's throwing out into the flats. He was, as you say, Singletary was just going over the middle, sitting there, pick up 7, pick up 8, pick up 9, 10, and he ran hard after the catch. So hopefully, we'll make our adjustments to whatever he decides to change up with here, because they can't go with the same game plan that didn't work last time. We didn't punt for the first time in his career.
Yeah, I mean, it really was a masterful performance from Allen. They tried to spy. You still got to catch him if he's taken off.
Mm-hmm.
When they were there in pursuit, you saw the shuffle passes. When they did decide to do man coverage, they found the mismatch in McKenzie and their slot corner. He just did everything right. The only thing that they didn't really try to do was blitz him, and it comes to the point where I don't really think it matters how you defend Josh Allen. I think what makes Josh Allen ineffective is himself, if he's on or if he's not, because we've seen teams try to play coverage and wait for Allen to make the mistake. And if he's on, he doesn't make the mistake. We've seen teams blitz Allen and try to get to him before they can find that mismatch. And we've seen him burn coverages, but most of the times when it doesn't work out, it's because of Allen. So it's, you got this. I was telling Fran, I was like, you're in this weird state. My wife, she's not from this country. She's only been a football fan ever since we've met. So 5 or 6 years. And I was like, you're so blessed to be a fan of a team that you have a X factor. You have a guy who, it doesn't matter who you're going against. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're in any game. You can lose the talent. We've seen it with Tom Brady with nobody's around him. We've seen it with Aaron Rodgers. You got the type of guy who can make, as long as he's on and he's making the right decision, it doesn't matter how you defend it. But with that said, Cody, do you expect to see the blitz?
Yeah, I think they have to generate pressure somehow. Now, whether that's the blitz, I guess so, because Matthew Judon has been invisible for the last few weeks. So
yeah,
you can't. They just don't have the horses in the backfield right now to match up with our receivers. Jalen Mills is out for this game. They didn't, with COVID or whatever. I think it was COVID. I'm not sure. But
yeah, he wasn't.
Kyle Duggar's got it. Right. We don't know if Duggar's playing. They just don't have the guys to match up and play coverage. So at some point, they have to get after Allen. Now, does that mean Allen escapes and runs all over the field? Well, I mean, I hope so, if it comes down to that. But I think if he's back there, we're going to end up picking him apart. There's so many different places to go with the football. Going back and watching the Dolphins game, they left the middle of the field wide open, and Tua was picking them apart the first couple drives. I mean, everything between the hashes was there, 10, 12 yards. Missed tackles, I was very surprised. To say the least. So I think that they have to get on Allen. Now, you're gambling because he can easily escape or stiff arm your defensive end into the ground. But at some point, you have to try to make him make mistakes. And I'm with you. He's a playmaker. If he's on, they won't win the game. I'm talking about the Patriots. They will not win the game. They just don't have the guys. So Bill Belichick is going to have to pull something out of his ass and get after him somehow, or they're dead in the water.
Yeah.
Very well put. He's going to have to pull something out of there, and they certainly don't have many players on the bench, because I think it's like 15 people are questionable. Now that's typical Belichick, but a lot of these guys didn't practice. I mean, you think of, like you mentioned, Duggar. Okay, he's got a hand injury. I still think you can practice on a limited basis if you're good to go, or if you're just nursing it. But if you can't even practice with a hand injury, I don't think you're playing in the game. And I know Barmore left on a cart, but apparently, I think he's going to be good to go. But either way, I mean, again, their left tackle
When,
probably not going to. Yeah,
yeah,
Wynn's not going to make it, and they're going to have to shuffle guys around. And I think Mac Jones was on par or on course to be the most hit quarterback in league history. And a lot of it had to do with some of these backup fringe starters that are on the field protecting them. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal in the run game, but I do think in the passing game, it will be. And I mean, fresh off 9-sack performance, they've had a ton of sacks in the last 4 games. I mean, we've talked a lot about the defensive line, and they seem to be coming on. So it might be this perfect storm. But staying with Mac Jones, we talk about it all the time. I'm sure we mentioned it the last 2 times we played the Patriots. But Herm, what do you expect out of him? And is he capable of playing from behind, or is that just not in the cards for him?
Well, I mean, I think it's well-known fact with you guys and to anybody I talk to about that. Yeah, he's been getting all these props as a rookie, won 10 games, but basically, for me, he was along for the ride.
Those were my words right there.
Yeah, you had a top flight defense. Run game was very, very effective early on. You've lost 3 out of 4 coming down the stretch. And as you said, Miami, he threw a horrible pick 6 in that game. I was watching part of that game, and he doesn't to throw the ball downfield unless his receivers are wide open, which hopefully won't be the case, as you said earlier about us not giving up pass completions over 20 yards. That's why my hope is we shut down that run game early and often, and make him throw the ball. So it's going to be cold. He's from Jacksonville, played at Alabama. You're up there in New England, but you haven't played a lot in the cold. This is your first playoff game, and if you remember the last time we played them in New England, we sacked them on that first series. I think Ed Oliver got him in the first series. We made him throw the ball down and second down, and we sacked him on third down. We need to come out aggressive on him early and often, and get him shook. And but first and foremost, it was shut down that run game. I think the running back ran for a little over 100 yards, if I remember correctly, and he had that over 100 yards. It was about a 40-yard run. I think he broke free for that in the game, which it seems like we've been giving up. When we did give up a lot of rushing yards, there's always a long run in there to pad the statistics of the back. But we haven't done that in the the last 2-3 games. So let's from a defensive standpoint, the line has been putting on an impressive amount of pressure. So if we can do that tomorrow night and shake him up early, I don't really believe that he can be the factor that beats us. So that's my take on that. Mac Jones.
Good take. Well, what you really should say is you should say McCorkle Jones. Okay, what's your thought?
That's his name, McCorkle Jones, right?
Michael McCorkle Jones. Cody, is this? I mean, listen, he's a rookie, and I don't think it was fair all of the praise that he's gotten. Not only was it not warranted, but you're asking a lot out of him. He's only a rookie, and he's not a highly touted rookie. I mean, those Alabama quarterbacks who are on these stacked teams are usually, they don't translate very well. I mean, we see Tua, they are who they are.
Jalen Hurts.
Point blank period. Yeah, exactly. And that's those guys were all on the same team, I believe, at one point.
Yeah, they were.
Mr. Jones, is he able to get it done if the Bills come out to an early lead?
Well, my name was McCorkle. I'd go by Mac too. No, I'm going to say no.
For sure.
I think he kind of came into the league. I don't want to say he's at his ceiling already. I think, but there's nothing. He doesn't do anything exceptionally well. He's an accurate quarterback. He's got a competent arm. but he doesn't wow you with arm talent. He doesn't wow you with size. He doesn't wow you with anything. And I agree with Herm. He's kind of been along for the ride here. So, I mean, the big thing for them is play action. If they can't get the running game going, if we shut that down, I just don't think neither at the quarterback position or really the dynamicism at the wide receiver position, I don't really think they have either one to keep up with like let's just say a shootout or to come from behind. I just don't think they have the guys for that, and he certainly isn't the guy right now. That second matchup, we definitely battled him. And if you're doing a little offensive line shuffle, if Trent Brown ends up going from the right side to the left side, you're bringing Aaron in and you're bringing the sixth line to play the right side. However they work it, it's gonna only cause that much more chaos for them going into this game. So really, it's the playoffs and it's the Patriots and it's a division game. Anything can happen, but there is really nothing on this offensive side of their football team that really scares me at all. And I guess what I'm trying to say is no, he can't do it. No, they're gonna will come out with his cheat codes, and when I say codes, I really mean his rub routes, that he likes to do, and borderline offensive pass interference, play action crosses. He's gonna try to scheme up some stuff, but really, it's gonna really rely on the offensive run game there for them. And Mac Jones, hopefully for them, develops. I don't think he's got that much more development to do, but we'll see.
Speaking of a point that you brought up mid commentary there,
Rant.
You yeah, borderline rant, but you brought up the skill position players. Now, somebody who will be rejoining the team that was not in the lineup the last time we played was Nelson Aguilar. Herm, will he impact this game? I know he's not a game breaker, but he does bring the element of speed. And let's face it, the last matchup, you didn't. I mean, we love our safeties, but we didn't even need anyone back there. There was no threat of Myers or anyone else of the like. I mean, I truly believe Jonnu Smith was probably the fastest guy on the field when we played them, and he's a tight end. Will Nelson Aguilar add a little bit of spacing, a little bit of a wrinkle this matchup?
Well, I mean, he probably, in my opinion, is their best receiver. You got Jacoby Myers, but that's not saying much. In Philadelphia, it was known for dropping balls, which they wanted to run him out of town. The Eagle fans did, and he's gone. Got picked up by the Pats, and he doesn't really scare me. He's not. All right, you're saying is he going to stretch the defense? Because I don't really see him. He's not that. He's not a speed burner like Deshaun Jackson and those guys to me, or Tyreek Hill with Kansas City. But I think Michal Emmanuel is saying he can be dangerous, and he adds another weapon. I think that probably is the biggest factor that I would take into consideration, is that he does have another factor. He played the first game, which was the 3 pass games. I think he caught one of the 2 completions for 6 yards, if I was looking at statistics earlier. So for what that was worth. But defensively, it still comes down to if we put the pressure up front. I don't really care about their receivers. Their tight ends were really the most effective receivers for Mac Jones most of the season. So the wideouts, they caught some balls that got first downs for them in key situations in some games that I did get to see the Patriots. But he adds another potential weapon to them. But I don't really see them being effectively throwing the ball too well against us tomorrow night.
Good points. Cody, does Aguilar do anything for you in this matchup?
Not really. He's had 5 catches the last 2 weeks. He's not, he can be a good player, right? He had suspect hands. We all know about Philly and how much they couldn't stand the guy and couldn't wait to get rid of him. Yeah, he's a decent player. I wouldn't ever even say his name in the same sentence as Tyreek Hill. I don't think, as far as a deep threat, I don't think they have the quarterback to really even get the ball there. I'm not saying that he can't throw the deep ball. He's an accurate quarterback. I just don't see the scheme where they're going to be hitting deep passes or really even taking too many shots. And if you get beat over the top by Aguilar, I don't really know what to say. But, he's a decent, serviceable NFL wide receiver. Does he scare me? No. Is he an outlet for Mac Jones? Sure. And he might catch a few passes, but he's not a dynamic player. So I don't know. That's like, would we be able to survive if Kumaro wasn't playing? I think we'd be all right.
Yeah, I think so.
He reminds me of he reminds me of Zay Jones. A lot of drops, a little bit of speed.
Yeah.
Ran out of town by the team who drafted him. All right, fellas, let's get into the matchups. Herm, what is a specific matchup that you're looking forward to watching this Saturday night?
Our defensive line overwhelming their offensive line, both against the run and putting pressure on Mac Jones. And that to me is the key. As Cody said a little while ago, we rattle him early and often. We did it, as I said last game, we sacked him in that first series. And I think that set the tone for the rest of the game. I mean, he made some plays. It seemed like we became a little lackadaisical once we had the lead. But I also told someone in that game, I felt that our offense felt we could score and move up and down the field, which we did at will. And but I want our defense in the matchup. I feel if our defensive line can dominate their offensive line at the point of contact, and I'm talking the run game, but then when they do decide to pass, someone said this week, one of the talking heads, that how many times did they think Mac Jones would have to pass for them to win this game? And they said 16. So if he passes 16 times, that means they're running the ball effectively. So if we shut that run down and make him pass the ball more than that, they're going to lose this game.
Good takes. Cody, what is a matchup you're looking forward to?
Well, just to comment on that real quick. So he threw 3 times and they scored 14 points in one game. 16 passes. I don't know. The matchup
it's a bell
I'm
curve.
looking forward to. Yeah, right. I think Bill Belichick versus Josh Allen. I think there's going to be some wrinkles that are thrown our way, and if our quarterback can handle it, then we will come out on top. So I think that's going to be the matchup I like that I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, and for me, it's going to be whoever is lined up, whether it's Emmanuel Sanders, which I think he's got a little he's got something to prove after dropping that pass in the end zone and then being hampered by the injury. The Emmanuel Sanders, the the Cole Beasleys and the Gabe Davises versus whoever else they have out there, because like we mentioned, Mills will not be playing. So as Herm has coined it many times on this show, there's a lot of riffraff over there opposite of JC Jackson. So, if they choose to lock down Diggs, go the other direction early and often and, really pick that side apart. I think we've mentioned it a lot. This team does not have the depth. Now, the Patriots, I think they overachieved for sure. I think they're a team that is kind of a year ahead of schedule. I don't necessarily think that they were a team that's primed to match up in the playoffs this year. It reminds me of the time the Bills kind of backed into the playoffs for the first time. They didn't really have the talent or the horses to run with anybody. But that being said, there are some solid pieces, but they don't have the depth, especially with this stable of healthy wide receivers, which remember, I mean, we were down 2 wide receivers the last time we met, right? We were down Beasley and Davis. So, we just added more firepower, and they are lacking it for sure on that end. Herm, give me your stat of the day or the game.
Well, I want to see Singletary going over 100 yards. You're talking about the run game earlier. If he gets closer over 100 yards, we win this game also, because that means our play action will be effective, and they always have to pay attention to Josh running the ball. So RPOs will be effective. So if he's running the ball effective enough to even get in that ballpark of 100 or cross over that threshold, I'll be very, very happy with that stat.
What about you, Cody? Stat of the game.
I'd like to see Damian Harris under 80 yards.
I would love to see that.
Under how much?
As long
I think 80. And that doesn't mean it's
under 80. Okay. Yeah,
but I'm saying
good caveat. Good caveat.
Yeah. So maybe I can elaborate a little more. Let's say combined rushing under.
Nope. Breaking up there.
You guys hear me?
Say that one more time.
We lost you. Yeah, you froze. You were froze. It's cold outside. You were frozen.
Oh, did I? Yeah. I was saying combined keeping the running backs under 120 yards for the Patriots.
Okay.
Solid.
Yeah.
My stat of the day or the game, Isaiah McKenzie returns a kick for a touchdown. He's been close this year. And
he got one.
There's a little bit of redemption arc.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he had one called back.
Did you
remember the first kickoff of the season? He took it 70 yards, 60 yards
in the Steeler game. Yeah.
Did you see? He actually got one vote for All Pro at kick returner.
I saw it.
Really? Yeah, I didn't see that
one. Meanwhile, nobody could get a clean kick. Not once.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a weird year for kick returning. It's not just us. It's all over the league. It's very strange.
Oh, this is a bold one by Leroy. Bills defense hold the Pats to 60 yards rushing, forces 2 turnovers and 2 sacks. If that happens, there's going to be a party in Buffalo for sure.
Leroy, I like that one.
We're talking the beat down.
I think we can definitely hold them to two sacks. I think that's definitely
I agree.
Attainable.
I agree.
If he's throwing the ball 16 times, I think you're getting no sacks.
Yeah.
All right. Key to victory, Herm. I know you kind of alluded to it earlier, but what's your key to victory?
I'm going back to the line play. Our D line against their O line, and if we control the line of scrimmage, which plays into Cody's point of holding them under 120 yards, plays into Leroy's points of 60 yards, and it plays into 2 sacks. So I think all of that comes together. But I really, truly feel that's going to be the battle. And I think our defensive line, they've risen to the challenge the last few games, and I think they're looking forward to this challenge, especially after that Monday night debacle and the 55-mile-an-hour wind. They didn't forget that game. None of us did either, So I think in Buffalo, so you're back at home. Let's see if the Patriots think they can replicate that performance. I don't think they can, and I don't think our line will allow
it. I'm feeling the same way, Herm. Cody, what do you got for the key to victory?
Well, since week 14, the Pats have been outscored 38-7 in the first quarter, and that 7 points came against the Jaguars. So, point being, jump on this team early, shut them down early, and let's see if they can come back. So, key to the game is be aggressive and make some plays. Let's jump on them. Really, the first quarter, jump on them.
That's what I'm talking about. Yep.
I feel like I'm living through Groundhog's Day because it's the same every week. Score early, stop the run, win the game. I mean, it's just as easy. It's as simple as that. If the Bills get out to an early lead and they can shut down the run and you make I mean, how many times do we sit up here, make the quarterback beat you, make it. It's right there on the table. We pretty much did it in the second matchup. I think if we did score that one touchdown, it would have been. The game would have you would have got your 40 burger. You would have been a handful of gin and tonics down by halftime. You would have been smooth sailing into the post game.
You're right.
Just score early, stop the run, easy as that. And that brings us to our score predictions. Herm, what do you got?
I got 28-13.
Bills,
of course. So yes, please.
It's like, who do you think this is?
I don't think
you predicted a loss all season.
No, I had us going undefeated this season. Yeah. I got a great deal of confidence in my boys.
We were 6 games away.
Yeah.
Cody,
but wait, they were one score. 5 of those were one score.
Yeah, you're right. You're
so
right.
We were close.
What's your prediction, Cody?
Well, Herm, what did you have? What was your numbers?
28-13, 4 touchdowns.
28-13.
4 conversions in the red zone.
Really, I'm battling myself whether I want to think that Belichick has some things up his sleeve to where we don't execute like we should, or do we just come out there and Dable gives himself a shot to get a head coaching job? Let's go Buffalo 31, New England 17.
Yeah.
I'm going with 24-13. Bills. I don't think it's going to be a lack of production. I just think the clock's going to be running a lot. So I think the Belichick, he was the mastermind in 1990 with that. The Bills had the ball for 19 minutes. And, they dominated the game and they.
Wait. I've been battling this online all week. He was the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, well, true. Very true.
So their offense had the ball for 41 minutes. He had nothing to do with their having it because I battled this today. Thurman Thomas had 190 total yards.
Well, this is the hill you'll die on even after you're done.
That's right.
You're going to die on this hill.
But I mean, if you scored 19, one of them was a safety. So really, we scored 17 points in 19 minutes. That's not good defense.
Yeah, so I want to reiterate. Hold on.
I had to go in there. I'm sorry.
My comment wasn't a pat on the back for Bill Belichick during that game. It's more of he was a part of that game and he can use that same mentality. He's saying we don't have the horses. So he knows the only way to win the game is to keep the ball out of Josh Allen's hands and keep the clock running. So
right.
Again, I just want you to know I'm on your side in that 1990 argument.
Giving him credit for that. And I told him, no.
Yeah, well,
we scored 17 points in 19 minutes on your defense, on Bill Belichick's defense. That's not good.
You're right.
Yeah, that's not good. 17 points in 19 minutes possession is not good. A guy argued with me today, said, well, give him some credit. For what? He wasn't there. I have to give it to the offensive coordinator.
And why is he saying we when it's the Giants and 30 years ago?
Well, he's the genius and, his defensive. And then he's never been beaten by the same quarterback twice. I said Tua beat him twice this year. They shut him up. I said he beat him twice.
Facts.
He beat him twice. Beat him in early in the year and beat him in the and they needed that game. They didn't rest their starters.
Yep. All right, it brings us to the last segment of the show. We're gonna go with the 5-day forecast. So we weren't here last week, so I don't have the stats. I'm not gonna bother bringing up the weeks prior. But let's start it off with you, Herm. Matt Hawk averages over 35 net yards a punt. Net yards a punt.
Clear. because he better.
He better. What do you got, Cody?
Clear.
You guys
Freaking
are
better.
wishing it to fruition. I'm gonna go
35
cloudy
minutes.
because it's
Yeah, you're probably right.
this guy's gonna punt the ball into the end zone from the 50. So yeah,
That's true.
I'll just go
Yeah.
cloudy. I don't know. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully, here we go. It's gonna be cloudy because he's gonna have a 0 net yard punt because he's not gonna punt.
The technicality. Yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
Hey, you know me. I have my loopholes in my my forecast.
Hey, you go start so you can come up with this bullshit.
That's right.
It's
That's
true,
right?
right? Yeah.
When you write the write the script, you can finagle it. All right,
Yeah.
Herm. Both teams combined for over 300 rushing yards.
Cloudy.
Yeah, that's a little much. What about you, Cody?
Oof. I could see Josh Allen getting somewhere around 60. How cloudy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go cloudy as well. I think now looking back on the 300s, I mean it's obtainable, but you know. All right, for
If it was
our
windy.
Wednesday question. Yes. Hey, who knows? You know the weather changes frequently, but let's hope that's not the case. Herm, Josh Allen connects on at least one pass over 30 yards.
Clear.
Cody?
Yeah, clear. I'd like to know the stats on how many games he's actually hit one over 30, but
It's bad. It's
not good.
Is it?
No, it's not good.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
you gonna change it
pertaining
now?
to this game. No. I'm going clear. I was just gonna say I hope they take a shot early. I really want them to take a shot early, whether at the first drive or what. I want those cornerbacks backing up. So yeah, I'm gonna say they hit on one of them. So
yeah, I'll go with clear because although statistics says otherwise, you're due. So I mean, in the wind, that one that hit Diggs right, I don't know, the elbow, had a hard time tracking it. There was another deep pass where I forgot who it was to. I think it was Davis, where he was looking over the wrong shoulder and then turned his heads. So there were a couple that were there, but it just seems like a lot of the deep passes, especially like the 9 routes or the goes, they're not contested. I mean, they're almost like a glorified overthrow or out of bounds a lot of times, just throwing the ball away. We haven't had that many, maybe it's the way the defense is playing us, but I feel like we haven't had that many opportunities where when we have, unfortunately Allen's overthrowing the ball. That's still something he needs to work on for sure.
Well, I get a lot of, on that note, quickly, I get a lot of blowback because I say this, and I believe it. Tyrod threw a better deep ball than Josh did in terms of getting the ball up in the air and putting some air under it. Right. But Josh, maybe because his arm, he overthrows more often than not on that deep ball.
I think he's too flat on the deep balls too.
Exactly. Doesn't put enough air under it. That's why I've been in the debate with some Bills fans. I said, no, Tyrod threw a nice deep ball when he did throw the ball because he held it too long.
His percentage is way higher.
Yeah,
his completion.
Threw a nice deep ball.
Yeah, I agree.
But that
Tyrod is very similar to a Russell Wilson type arc.
Yeah, exactly. That arc.
Well, when you're that little, you got to get it up there.
Yeah, true.
Herm, Mac Jones attempts at least 25 passes.
I'm gonna go clear because I think we're gonna make him.
I like it. Cody?
Yeah, I got the same thinking as Herm here. Just to be different, I'll go cloudy, but I think he'll probably be around somewhere between that 20 and 25. So I'll go cloudy.
Yeah, I know where you're going. You're saying third quarter, sack, strip, fumble. He hits his head on the turf. Game over. He's out. He's out with like 23 completions.
Who is their
I hear
backup?
you.
Yeah. I got to, if I check
Hoyer?
the prop bets right now,
Hoyer. That's
it'll be
right.
23 and a
Hoyer's-
half.
Oh, yeah. 23 and a half on the prop bet.
No, I'm just
23
saying
and
it's
a
gonna.
third.
They're usually pretty right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go clear because for the same reason. He's gonna have to. I mean, you can only run the ball so long. I mean, even the second matchup. I mean, there was no sense of urgency at all because I think they know when you put him in those pressure situations, he's gonna. I mean, they tried it against the Dolphins. He's gonna crumble. He started playing better when the game was kind of out of reach. So, the pressure certainly gets to the young man. The young man, yeah. And when they, we talked about the Bills kind of falling flat against the Jets. The Patriots needed that game regardless. We didn't necessarily need the game, and the way it turned out, we didn't need it at all. But backing into the playoffs it's not very good. Not for the confident.
I wanted to win the game.
I don't know if you guys watching that Dolphins game. What kind of stuck out to me from Mac Jones was when they were pressuring him, the Dolphins I'm talking about, and they got him rolling out to his right. His throws came up very short. Like, it was down the field. They were hitting that 15, 16 yards. I was very surprised. It just did not look right almost.
Well, let's flush him.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. I agree.
There you go. That's what it is.
Herm, last but not least, Allen takes 0 sacks.
Cloudy. They'll put some pressure on.
Cody?
Yeah, cloudy. That's a tough ask.
Yeah. Last 2 games, I think he hasn't been sacked in the last 2 games, if I remember correctly. So
was he? Yeah, okay. He was sacked during. No, there might have been 3 because he wasn't sacked against the Patriots either.
I thought he had a couple against Atlanta.
Maybe.
No.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. No.
Yeah.
I don't
Atlanta
think so.
I think
3 times. No?
Yeah.
Leroy will
Google that shit.
yell us out in the
Yeah,
chat.
Leroy.
I'm gonna say clear.
Okay.
Rick Bates. He's the mojo, the lost mojo. I just find it so weird that it's like this guy's been on our team for how long, and it's like, all right, we got starters injured, backups injured. We're gonna put Cody Ford in. We're gonna take Cody Ford out. We're gonna play around with all these different, musical chairs, and then you force Ryan Bates in, and then it's all gravy from there. It's very interesting.
Well, he's earned his stripes.
We are an hour and 20 minutes in. Herm, take us out with a closing comment.
Well, the rubber match, that first 55-mile-an-hour wind game, to me was an aberration. And they called Belichick a genius after that game for only throwing the ball 3 times. But as I remind people, we had 1st and goal at the 6-yard line. We score, we're in the lead, and you make Mac Jones come the length of the field to beat us. I don't think it happens. We went up there. We had an opportunity to blow them out. As I said, we should have been in the 40s in that game. And this game here, I want the Bills to come in there. And Cody made the point early. Jump on them. They've been outscored in the first quarter. We have an opportunity, as we did against the Jets. We scored on our first 2 drives. These 2, I want us to go in there and finish with touchdowns. And then all of a sudden they're behind, which impacts your run game and your strategy at that particular juncture. Because if you go 3 and out and we get the ball back, have an opportunity to go up 3 scores, that game is over. So I want us to score early, put some pressure on them, be aggressive, and go out here and not only eliminate them, humiliate them. Send them back to New England, and I don't have to hear from those Patriot fans for another year.
Oh, you'll hear from them. They'll just they'll stay to their corner a little bit.
Yeah.
They're a prideful bunch, that's for sure.
And
what
so are we.
Yeah, but we're not sore losers.
Right. Listen, we've all been listening to Bill Belichick for 20 years about how they own us. They're coming into our house tomorrow, sub-zero temperatures. I want Bill Belichick thinking about the New York Giants opening head coaching job. I want him to see that his quarterback is not an NFL quarterback and that he's been found out because we trounced them. I don't want to hear anything about the Patriots anymore or their sleeveless head coach. I want this game to be over in the first half and make them our little brother for the next 20 years. So just go out there, show your dominance, show that their guys cannot keep up with our guys, and get on them early and go win this football game.
Yeah. And with that, fuck the Patriots. See you next week because we'll be on. Go Bills.
All right. Yeah, we will
Go
be
Bills.
on next week. Yeah, go Bills.